Ukhozi umaphiko ombhula amaphiko kwaye kwaphephezela omiyane inyoni nobuciko nomnyunyu edweleni isibini nemafini icula ingoma emnandi eyahlukanisa unyaka omusha omdala inyoni enezigidigidi zabalandeli abayilandelayo zamemeza sezidondolozela zathi siyayazi le nyoni yayiculela okhokho bethu abanye abathule isibongo sokhozi FM sisibhalelwe isidadada sothu Ukhozi FM luhamba phambili.
Minister Mhlonishwa sikubingelele emsakazweni.
Ngibingelela kwena mfethu, ngibingelela abalaleli bokhozi, ngibonge ngesikhathi ngenhlonipho.
Asikaze sathola ithuba sokuthi sikhalalisele President ememezela ukuthi sizoba uminister walomnyango okokuqala ngaso umsakazo sithi halala siyakubongela uzizwa unjani?
Mfethu ngizizwa ngimncane ngoba beningazi lo msebenzi ukuthi mkhulu kangaka. Sekudlula amaviki amathathu ubuthonga ngisabazi ngoba njengoba wazi ukuthi abantu base South Africa bayasithanda isport kakhulu bayayithanda iarts bayayithanda iculture yabo bayayithanda iheritage ngingumuntu ke ubalalela yabantu that's why ngiyajabula mangila ngoba ngishilo ukuthi ngeke nze ngihambe eKZN ngihambe eThekwini ngingazange ngizovela ngikhulume nabalaleli bokhozi ngoba abalaleli bokhozi ngiyabazi ngabantu abalithanda kakhulu izwe labo nabathanda kakhulu ezemidlalo.
Ngapha ngiyazi songena kokwenzekayo la kodwa ngesikhathi upresident ekubiza ethi eyindoda awuthathe lo msebenzi lo yini yakufikele emqondweni wakho emva kwesikhathi eside umnyango uphethwe abantu abathizeni kwafikani nje nombono wathi ke nginawo ngezemidlalo?
Okwangifikela nje mfethu ukuthi umongameli ngeke ngibangambuza ukuthi umongameli uboneni kimi ngambonga nje ngathi ukona into ayibonileke mina nganginguye umsubathi ngisemncane esikoleni bengilikhathela nolikhahlela bengigijima into ngazange wayibona boma 800
chamadu
angazi nokuthi umongameli wayigugulisha wayibona nje lo mlando lowo ke maybe wabona ukuthi akawusebenzise o ubone isikhathi esezwe ukuthi sidinga umuntu ofana nami mawubheka ezemidlalo nje ukuthi sidinga umuntu othize angazi ngeke ngikhulumele umongameli kodwa ke ngiyathemba ukuthi usebenzisana nawe wena msakazi nabanye nje bafana nomnyandu sizoyishintsha isimo sebhola sishintshe isimo sezemidlalo iphenduke nje iSouth Africa ihlonishwe kuhlabathi lonke nje masenzile ngo2010 ngaphambilini.
Mokhuluma ngo800 meters ubheka abasubatha bakhona kushuthi Wade van der Kerk ngezikhathi zakho nje babangangena enkingeni izintwana lezo ngesikhathi sami kuvele kwaqondana ke emhlonishwa ngoba uthe uqokwa nje khona into ovelwa yithinda zisuka nje le school sport wonke umuntu wathi uthini uminister zisuka nje bekhuluma ngeschool sports esikhathini lapho upresident weCAF uDr Patrice Motsepe ethe neCAF siyaKwaZulu Natal siya South Africa aqale iCAF schools championship kwavela kwaqondana nombono wakho?
Mfethu ezinye izinto ngenye isikhathi ngekhombuzo phezulu ukuthi why eziqondanisa ngelendlela usho kanjalo. Masimbonge umongameli uPatrice Motsepe ngoma uma yakhumbula ngesikhathini ngaphambilini kwakune subject ebizwa physical education ubathi PE hawu manje ayisekho mawukhuluma ngezemidlalo bakhuluma as an extra subject. In other words funeka niyenze ngomgqibelo it must be after school. That was the end of school football and that was the end of sport development in the country. Because into bisisiza ngayo into physical education not only was it about games, it's about skills, it's about techniques, some of the best journalists, some of the best coaches besifundiswa ama skills konke lokho akusekho. If you bring back a curriculum esikolweni it must include sport not as an extra but as part of learning. So sicabanga ukuthi umhlangano benginawo nomama uNG Motsepe basic education. I had a long meeting no President Motsepe and the executives of CAF ukuthi let's bring it back physical education in whatever form ezodinga ukuthi bekhona ngoma if uyabona the role of and the sport generally it's only the African continent that we are not producing the best of the best. The reason almost the whole continent asinayo is school sport and in many countries including Europe some of the best sporting nations they've got a good foundation of school sport. Best players zitholakala sebancane 7 years 8 years and so on. Thina sithola ama players at the age of 20-21 already sebekhulile kakhulu uthola ukuthi ngeke badlale for more than 2 3 5 years. In Europe utholakala umuntu adlala national squad ena 12 utholakala semncane. We need to go back And I'm just defining it because there's an economy of sport we're not talking about. Yabona eThekwini ibidume kakhulu iThekwini ngisakhula nge-sport tourism. Ukuthi bekuyaziwa wonke umuntu makudlala ngeke ngiyabiza amanye amagama eteam asadlali kakhulu manje. Bezithi masizodlala eThekwini wonke umuntu aze eThekwini. Akusekho lokho. But funeka sikhulume of hosting of international games. Itheku kufanele lidume. Njengoba manje si hosting the continental game the CAFs because people who support sport yabona ama supporters engwahloniphile ama support eNetherlands bayaphuma impela ke lapho uyakhumbula ngo2010 abahlala nasema hotel bafike nje bahlale emgaqweni nje bazihlalele nje
indaba zalutho
abanandaba zalutho because that is economy of sport ihamba with the best teams. So if we have the best teams like Mamelodi Sundowns we have now in the league, I'm sure all the teams people will want to come to South Africa bezobuka ibhola la South Africa.
Khuluma ngeeconomy of sport ehambisana nalo ibusiness lebhola nokushintsha kwembono mhlambe nakubona kubantu abaphethe ibhola ukuthi ake bakuthathe njengebusiness lokhu ekugcineni kufezeke nembono okhuluma ngayo.
Asithembe ukuthi laba baphethe ezemidlalo nama clubs bazoyazi ukuthi when you see today when I speak to the legends Abo Lucas, I'm with them here at Thekwini. We have decided as a department to take all of them. Abo Lakilikwati, Abo Poshia and others. Because we think they've got a role to play. When you see some of them when they're no longer in the field of play, you worry what happened to them. So we've got to find a way to bring them back into the system. And that ecosystem, they are not just role models. I mean, if you look at a person like Lucas, well celebrated in UK, when Engenakwi Stadium leads, standing ovation, not celebrated well in his own country. You've got Pitso Misimane, one of the best coaches we ever produced, celebrated elsewhere, not celebrated in his own country. There's something wrong about us, that we leave the legends who can play a role to help us to develop a sport in South Africa. That's why they are here. I've decided to take all of them to the department as ambassadors. Many of them are still identifying them even today. Somebody was telling me, "Ukuphi uTsitsiyo, ukuphi uThines Dladla, ukuphi ubani." Ngiyakhumbula ke manje ukuthi ubani abanye sebengamakhehla. Kodwa kufanele sibanike a responsibility including coaching some of the schools, because the school sport ezikoleni akakho uteacher or who's appointed to be a sport teacher. Bekukhangelwa nje iscore esifana nawe wena msakazi nje iscore nje ukuthi hayi wena ufanele uba nguthisha we sport. Sifuna uthisha abafana Lucas, they must be appointed by the department to help schools on issues of physical education.
Uyazola ke bekumbuzo bengithi ngiyakona wavela wahlala kuphezulu kwawo nentatheli zikhona ziyabhala ngaloko ukuthi ke bebefuna ukubheka ukuthi uma belandwa bazosiwapi sekuvelile ukuthi ke ababuyiselwe ekoleni bahambe bayoqeqesha. Isikhathi emsakazweni Ukhozi FM imzuzu ngamashumi 22 lishayile ihora lesikhombisa sikhuluma noMinister Wezemidlalo la emsakazweni Ukhozi FM. Sebekubiza kahle kumnyango Sports Arts and Culture umhlonishwa ke uZizi Kodwa. Enye into engithandile ngesikhathi kune opening ceremony ngiyakhumbula ukuthi khona into egcizelele kakhulu ukuthi abeze ngaphambili ohulumeni baseAfrika baseke imbono eqhamuka nobaba uPatrice Mtsipe ikakhulukazi ekutheni leli phupho lokuthi kuphumelele izikole kuthuthuke zona ziye phambili ngoba akuhle kahle kukhulunywa ngomuntu oyedwa nje kuthiwa uye uhamba phambili ekufakeni into yokuthenga.
Mfethu uPatrice Iqhawe is one of people that we must celebrate. This idea azenayo. Sport for me has got a role off the field. I'm not talking about 2 goals like 7-1 yesterday and 7-0 of Liverpool against Manchester at Anfield. It has got a role. It has got a role to play when we talk about building bridges of peace in the continent. We're a continent of conflicts, kuyaliwa and so on. Lezi ngane sihlanganela eKingswell Tennis Stadium. Sizohlangana eSugar Ray Qulu Stadium on Saturday. They come from different countries. In future, if you have to tell them that they must fight somebody from another country, they will say, no. In that country, I remember we played against them when we were in South Africa. So we are building peace through sport has got a role to play when we're talking about development and peace in the continent. So lento goes beyond just 2-0, 4-0, 7-0 and 5-0 impama ye-Kaizer Chiefs against Pirates. So lezonto we must promote sport, school sport. Please understand ukuthi when we teach them bebancane kanje, it teaches them certain values: solidarity, patience, love and togetherness. Those are some of the basic principles of sport bafuna ngazo abantwana.
So kunikeza ithuba ke nawo bekwakho umbono kodwa ke mhlambe ngaphambi kokunikeza ithuba ngoba ngithe ngibabizile bakhona nala e-studio Mnyandu ake ngikubikelele mfowethu ngibuyise benikhona kuvulwa Ukhozi FM ilona oliqalile lithe uminister lumlethe la ngathi ngizonibiza nani nisondele nani sizocobelelana ngolwazi ikhona imibuzo emibilo nayo bese ngiyayidedela kufuna ukunika nabalaleli.
Yeah, no, Profik, I think Mphathiswa, mine is just to pick up on indaba ye school sport that you've already mentioned, and I think just few days before ungene Ubaba Petrus Motsipe from another angle as the Motsipe Foundation who invested I think about 150 million rands kumculo which is what you are also all about ku netball kokona futhi na ku bhola lenyawo. So I think from the Department of Sport and Arts and Culture side, how are you going to ensure that this money is used appropriately and we see the effectiveness? For instance, you talk about putting the legends, coaching, and I know that there's always been this plan from your department and from the basic education, but there's been lack of implementation of it, especially in the last decade. How are you going to ensure now that these things are implemented and we see most of these legends who are also in organized structure doing this on a regular basis?
Firstly, is ngiyabonga Mnyandu ukuthi sibalekelele, we must support them. I'm happy about 2 weeks ago I was with all of them about Dr. Khumalo when we came with this concept. Unfortunately, Dogisi 16V could not join us because they've got a role to play. These are legends. If you look at what happened in 1996, if you look at what sport has done in the country, the last almost monumental game for me, which define what sport can do in the country, is a Blue Bulls match at Soweto. If you remember Orlando, that Blue Bulls match changed the stereotypes about certain people. They did not want to come back. They enjoyed, they did not even go back to work on Monday because suddenly they believed, oh, people in Soweto, they are like us. Only sport can do that. Only sport can change those stereotypes. Tomorrow I'm going to emceeing. I'm going to, a day after that, I'm going to a rugby tournament in East London. These are grassroots sports that must be supported. emceeing is a motor race that happens in September, organized on Mfokamabas. These are the sports that you must support in rural areas. Because but thing is support. Not only Umutsipe, many other commercial partners. UPEP, not 2 days ago, UPEP contributed to Netball South Africa school sport. And we're calling on all of them. I was speaking to the CEO of SCORE. That is supporting a lot of activities in the Western Cape. So we need commercial partners, not only government, will succeed to do this so that we promote sport. We must make sure that the little cent of 150 million that President Motsipe gave, it goes to a right cause. It does not go anywhere. It develops a child somewhere. That's why our discussion with the Department of Basic Education is to make sure that money, it goes to where it's supposed to go. Mnyandu.
No, angaqedi. In fact,
sesengizokuvala manje.
Yeah, no. Then government sithetha ngemali ke. Masihlala apha emalini. The funding model South African sporting codes. For a very long time there's been questions around it, leading to an extent that I think your department is the least funded out of all the departments. There's been a notion yokuthi South African government is not taking sport serious. Take the federation like SAFA. When you look at it in terms of its budget, it's less than 2% of their budget where they get some funding from the government. And then when you compare to because most of the time I think Pravik is going to agree with me here, and I'm sure Mphathiswa nawe so uzwe kakhulu about Morocco this, Morocco did this, Morocco that. So how are we looking at this? Because next year we are going to the Olympics, and there's this thing of a big demand of medals, Minister, when we go to Olympics, and you find that a SASCOC that is getting less than 20 million rands is competing with a Britain that is getting 400 million rands in terms of funding from government. What is the envisioned long-term plan on improving sports funding, especially for the federations?
Mnyandu angibonge. I can share with nabalaleli bokhozi Molefe mfethu. I had a meeting this morning with the President of the Republic, who shared his vision about to answer your first question.
Yes.
President uthi mina ngifuna ngikuzwile ukukhuluma ngendaba ye-school sport, and it's close to my heart. Ngicela wenze the following. Wathi okwesibili ngiyabona uhulumeni over the period of time we have under budgeted for sport, arts and culture. And siyafunda kwamanye amazwe ukuthi this is where even the economy, the driver of the economy comes from, because it drives tourism in most countries. Abantu who go to France, they don't go to France because it's a 10-hour flight from South Africa. There is a place they go to. It's a heritage of France. Nkulu angazi bayibizani Mnyandu?
Eiffel Tower.
Nazo-ke.
Yes.
Umnyandakaza.
Lalela-ke bengifuna ishongo kwakho. It's about heritage. It's about arts and culture. In us, we don't recognize it. Yeah. It's a heritage, it's the economy of the country. So umongameli ke ushilo kimi ukuthi lento ye sport, do everything you can. We'll put as much money as possible, because when you develop young people, we are building the generation in the future.
Icace ba sisemsakazweni Ukhozi FM 7:30 manje sikhuluma no Minister Wezemidlalo la eNingizimu Afrika ubaba ke uZizi Kodwa la sibheka khona isimo nje sithinta ezemidlalo simbamba nje phuma la kwi tournament enkulu yeCAF thinta ezikole njalo ngaphambi kuba ngetolo ngiyafisa ukuthi ngaphambi kwasiyogunya amathe sidlule kule kuze singabe sisabuyela kuyona. Mhlonishwa cishe bonke abahlonishwa ababekhona phambi kwakho bonke bebehlala bekhuluma ngendaba ye transformation ikuphi okusha esokubona kuwena mhlambe iphumelela lento ye transformation, ngoba uyathi umhlonishwa usayibambile impela bese kuthiwa hayi awuphume sekungena omunye manje isali transformation kuthiwa hayi kuyoze kube nini eSouth Africa sikhuluma ngetransformation selokusangena kusukela ngo 1994 embusweni.
Uyakhumbula Molefe into engiyishileyo usuku lami lokuqala nje umongameli ebiza igama lami nje ngathi i-transformation in sport for me is non-negotiable. We can't 29 years on, we can't be talking about transformation. We can't 29 years on sisakhuluma nge-equal pay, equal work. Abantu besifazane nabesilisa bakhathela ibhola elilodwa. Why abanye will be paid differently? We can't be talking about those things in 2023. Kunezinto that you must just draw a line, Pravik. So because I'm a sporting coach sometimes, nabanye who come with big monies, they may want to extrapolate a benefit and to exploit our players. So transformation as well as equal pay, equal work, those issues are non-negotiable for me. Whether president and keep kusasa ngingambonga kakhulu, kodwa le transformation I fought for it. I met with all the big five structures. I made it very clear. With SARU as well. I met with Cricket South Africa. I met with SASCOC. I said to my daughter, I met with SAF. I met with SAF. Ngasho ngathi i-transformation
bebecabanga abantu uzogcina ngabo.
No, ngiqale ngabo lo impela ngoba I'm like you, Pravik. I'm concerned about the quality and the standard of our national football team. Okubalulekile ngizohlangana noNgqongqoshe wezezimali uGodongwana. Kune imali ekhishwa i-treasury inikezwa omasipala for infrastructure for sport. Sithola ukuthi le mali ngenye isikhathi ayisetshenziswa ngomasipala to build infrastructure. Isetshenziswa ukwenza ezinye izinto. Sizokhuluma noNgqongqoshe sibone ukuthi how do we reinforce. Uqinisile umfowethu lebekhuluma kuqala ukuthi ngeke ukhulume ngeexcellence ungakhange ukhulume ngedevelopment. First there must be development. Ufocus kwindawo zasemakhaya, uzise ama infrastructure amakhaya nama stadiums so that we are all equal when it comes to development, because if your emphasis is excellence also exclude abantu basemakhaya abangenazo lezi zinto zizodingeka kwabanye abantu abahlala eThekwini, abahlala eMaritzburg. Kubalulekile ukuthi ama stadiums akhiwayo akhona nakwezinye indawo. The community must protect those facilities. We've seen many places, Bravi, ukuthi ama facilities of government which are meant for the communities, they get destroyed by the communities. I know, for an example, when we went to an area somewhere in Cape Town, there's a big pool which was built by government. It's destroyed, which is why today, you know, makutwa amasubati swimming nominees are kuvela nje kuvela abantu balolodwa. Angibuza omunye umuntu ukuthini ngithi thina into siyaziyo sikwazi uswima nje to cross the river siyazenye. Kanti ama pools enzelwe nathi ukuthi sikwazi ba to be the best swimmers. But indlela esiwaphetha ngawo ama infrastructure ngenye isikhathi kwindawo esihlala kuzo, we don't protect them. Kwezinye indawo bayawa protect. Ngizothi ke kumfowethu lebekuqala ebekhuluma esithi mangimthinte akashiyanga ucingo. Ngiyafisa umthinta impela. Angithi ngumakhatho.
Uthe uzoxhumana nami uxhumana no minister. Usho njalo angithi
ngiyafisa ukuthi uphela lo hlelo ngimthinte.
Uthe umakhotokusele ya usophongolo
awumkhangele, ngiyafisa ukuthi ngimthinte makuphela uhlelo. Ngiyabonga.
Somfuna asifunde ke ababhalile ngalesikhathi. Ukhetho Ntanzo yaya uthi Victor unguNgqongqoshe lapha estudio unomfutho isimangalisi impela. Umbuzo ofika kumina uthi ufika nini endaweni esemakhaya kuzobhekwa italent ukuthuthukisa ezemidlalo. Uphethe nguyanya idumbe senginilalele nasemotweni asina gas la kodwa uyakhuluma uminister ngeke ayingeke ihamba kancane intuthuko nebafana ihamba kancane. Ungelela nini eqenjini lesizwe alungisa izinto ngoba sesikhathele isibhaxu abantu behlekisa ngathi eAfrika. Umboneni Patrick Nqele Hawika sibonga kakhulu umlife leli xatha lithathwa uNgqongqoshe Wezemidlalo ngokubuyisa ezemidlalo ke ekoleni. Siyabonga kakhulu ke kuminister lapho ke estudio nikhuluma naye ke ngalesikhathi. Umcekisi Buthelezi endanyana Bravik ngiyabingelela. Nakuminister ngiyafisa umuntu ke azoqeqesha izingane ke la esikoleni kuhambe ngendlela kahle kakhulu. Minister, ikona enye into bengithi ngizoke ngiyisithi ukuyinkankanya sixoxe impela ibalekile le. Ethinta iSouth Africa iyasingathi iyahosta ngaso sonke isikhathi imidlalo emikhulu 2010 FIFA World Cup, bani World Cup. Njengamanje semkhankasweni wokulanda i2027 Women's World Cup. Kodwa asizwa uhlangothi lukaHulumeni. Sezonye kancane kuthiwa uHulumeni ngathi uyavuma kodwa akwazi uphumela obala. Iqhaza elibanjwa ubani leli nizofinyelela nini iphumelo balo ukuthi singaphinde sisingathi imidlalo ingabi khona nekhalo abantu baseNingizimu Afrika bathe siloku sisingatha nje kodwa sithola lutho.
Mfethu njengoba sengishilo, hosting and bidding is very important because it brings a lot of revenue. That's why many countries makuthiwa kunama international events we compete about hosting. All the hosting rights are confirmed by the Department of Arts and Culture. He may not sign on behalf of government. Whether it's 2027, there are a number of events that ISAFA throughout the world. They are competing, whether it's women, whether it's cricket, that they want to host in South Africa. But we must remember, we may wish to have as many as possible, but they don't come cheap. There are guarantees that we must sign, but we must look at what is the benefit for the country. In about a few months' time, we are hosting the Netball World Cup for the first time in the African continent, hosted in South Africa in Cape Town. Already the opening ceremony is sold out. We are talking about 25,000 people. And again, it reminds us the first game, 2010, is one opportunity again when we talk about Philippines here. Ukuti South Africa, so many people are going to come, many countries uzobona in South Africa. So hosting and bidding, because we've got SASCOC, which is an umbrella body of federations, which then must all do these things. At the end, obviously must get guarantees from government. When we are ready, we'll make those confirmations, but I can assure you, they've got our backing, all the federations, as a bidder to host international games.
Kodwa umuntu angaphumela obala engakakhulumi nawe.
Akakwazi cha. Akakwazi.
No siyayithola. Ake sikhulume nawe mlaleli sizwe ukuthi ke uPaula uthini kwezinye zezinto esikhuluma ngazo estudio sawubona?
Yebo mhlonishwa njani?
Siphilile ubani sikhuluma naye?
Hello?
Yebo sikulalela.
Yebo ufuna ngiphathele ngakho mara siyabonga kakhulu ukukhuthalela usondezele uNgqongqoshe nabonke abantu aba-relevant ebholeni lakithi eNingizimu Afrika. Mina bengicela ukubuza ukuthi uNgqongqoshe uthini ngempela ngaleli squad sika-1996 esawina i-World Cup eFrance ukuthi mhlawumbe njengoba kade usilandele uRukasade mhlawumbe akukho nesingabasekisa ngakho ukuthi bementorise iNingizimu Afrika isquad sethu ibafana amadoda emadala ukuthi mhlawumbe besebenziseke lapho ukuze singalingelelwa ivelu yethu ngithande nalombuzo ukusibuzela ukuthi okwedwala ukuhosta ngempela sisenze njani lapho ukuthi sendeze lawo abantu abanaloya moya.
Hayi kuzwakele mfethu uqale ngako uminister kodwa ke uzophinda adlule kuko ngokuhamba kwesikhathi. Umunye sinaye sanibona?
Kuziyana.
Yebo bani sikhuluma naye?
Ekhuluma nabothe ngoma mfowethu.
Ulayini wakho umuhle kodwa zama.
Victor mina ngifuna ukubonga nje bayithi uNgqongqoshe ngiyamethemba Nkosi yami ngicela ukuthi engabe bese sikhokhayo mfowethu ngiyacela ngithi ukukhuluma yazi uma umuntu ukhuluma mfowethu uyethembisa ngiyacela ukuthi elambe lapho enze njengoba ekhuluma ngiyacela nasemakhaya lapho nongoma engakhohlwa athi likhona indawo eyingane. Yabonga.
Nangethu uyazolo kuphela uyazolo wena uthi uyeza khululeka wena usefikile sawubona usemoyeni.
Hello.
Yebo sikhuluma nobani?
Ukhuluma nomnqoba kaMqada FM.
Baba.
Ngibingelele kuNgqongqoshe lapho.
Bethu.
Yebo. Ngiyafisa ukuthi nathi ngala yabona yasekhaya asinalo nje ground le cricket asinalo umuntu le-swimming pool. Ngiyafisa ukuthi nathi emakhaya sike sakhele lezo zinto. Mase sakhelwe mase silethele umuntu oprofessional okwazi ukufundisa izingane. Wala siyafisa ukuba lo muntu lo njalo ecricket nomuntu obhukudako kusuku. Ngibonga.
Siyabonga kakhulu mntaka baba sibheke futhi ama voice note amabili. Umnyando usephindwe wabaleka yini? Ngoba khona akusela.
Ukhozi FM yabongelela baba Molefe ngiphinde ngibongelela baba uminister wethu laphana siyabonga kakhulu nje uba sithole ithuba loba sikhulume naye umzwandile lona eDondoni endaweni yase Robertson eMpumalanga uTreasurer weCredit Dontonal LFA ngifuna mina ukucela kubaba ukuthi yena ukhuluma kamnandi man kodwa into ebalekile yabona nje Department of Sports Arts and Culture njengakidla eMpumalanga sibone ukuthi bake besondele nje bazowaxhasa la local football association ala phansi because egcineni sabadlalisa abantwana kodwa kube nzima ukuawada njengemali lena aba-affiliate ngayo siyacela nje bebe bazoxhasa la emakhaya singakujabulela nje abantu abasha baqoqeka uma sibaqoqa benciphela ophuzweni oludakayo ngiyabonga kakhulu nje baba esazongiphendula danke.
Mphathisa usazophendula imibuzo ikhona into mhlawumbe oyiqaphelayo abantu mebekhuluma baloko bakhuluma ngebhola isporting code si1 lesabakhuluma ngaso kunini la esizobona khona siqinisa le ndaba ukuthi babuke ezemidlalo njenga nemkhakha eminingi yahlukahlukeneyo besinothemba bavuma la wecricket sino siyakolisi bekhuluma la emsakazweni Ukhozi FM kusenemidlalo la uthola ukuthi abantu basayibuka njenga nemidlalo yabantu abathizeni kodwa ingxenye ethile ecisha ifana nami nawe isacabanga ngebhola lenyawo kuphela.
Mfethu ngeke sibasole abantu bakithi mabecabanga kanjalo kodwa kufanele wazi ukuthi ngaphambilini kusafana namanje imidlalo eminingi etholakala kumsakazo Ukhozi FM kuSABC ibhola eminye imidlalo eminingi ithathwa ngabanye ngeke ngibabize ngamagama manje abane broadcasting rights usho ukuthi uma abantu bakithi who cannot afford ama subscription on the other broadcasting right no SABC akakhona ukuthi abonise imidlalo ethize lapho bazakhola khona ikhilikithi babone khona irugby yabona manje siye France to defend our championship title I'm sure nizobanga nabanye laba ukuthi ubani abazobonisa ama rugby games. What is important even if abantu bacabanga ukuthi we must have a code ethi ama national sporting codes regardless ukuthi uthini SABC among others because uyena ufikelele emakhaya ufanele athole i-rights ku-SABC for those national sporting codes like rugby for example like cricket like soccer abantu bethu abaningi nami ngikhule ngithanda ibhola ngoba iyona kuphela besithola ku-SABC eminye nje besingakwazi ukuthi si-afford sithenge lanto ithengwayo ukwazi ukuthi siyibukele abantu basemakhaya there's one message about them ukuthi they are neglected emakhaya bacabanga ukuthi uhulumeni naye ufuneka aze emakhaya ngisemsinga kusasa kwesizwe samabomvu ngizobe ngilaphana okay wangibona nje drobheni lapha emsinga ngidonse nje asho ukuthi nayi inkinga esihlangene nayo ngoba nje bathanda abantu basemakhaya actually bravi one of the best black excellence sportmen and women in this country many of them come from rural areas, in areas where there is no infrastructure at all. Look at cricket, look at rugby. Some of the best players, they come from the poor areas of Eastern Cape with no facilities. And that's why ngithi kubalulekile ukuthi we must invest in rural infrastructure emakhaya mfethu.
Sonke siseThekwini kwiCAF African Schools Tournament la qhubeka khona ke imidlalo yezinga ke eliphezulu. Bengilunginika abalaleli ithuba. Usekhona umbuzo kwi-senior journalist eSABC Sport esinayo la e-studio. Wokugcina nje. Uphathisayo ukuthi wasekhaya lo.
No, no, ngicabanga ukuthi ngifike nophethe umcimbi Bravik because nami bengike ngahlala kakhulu kulomcimbi lo we broadcasting rights. And ngiyakhumbula
iwona impela bengithi ngiyakubona kodwa uzana.
Yes, ngiyakhumbula sibhizi ne ikhasa. Ikhasa and unfortunately Minister, he comes from that communication and going to your national policy last year. Benkenda bona ni ifakile lidibene broadcasting ne sports rights, but naphinda nayikhupha kwakhona futhi. What informed that?
Nyando, we need if you are to deal with monopoly and broadcasting right, you need a legislation. Otherwise, we'll continue to sit here and wish and khulume sport, and yet majority of people mina nawe amabomvu asemsinga nomqadi abase embali abana access to sport. We've got to fight for a right of majority of people who are poor baben access to sport. They must watch all kind of sport, especially a national sport. There must be legislation for that. Because if we think that based on a political will of the commercial partners, no, these people are driven by profit. Because there's a minister who went to Ukhozi and said it, or president addressed the state of the nation. There must be legislation. So that we don't have a monopoly of another broadcasting, and then you have the majority of people who are dependent on SABC. They can't get access to some of these sporting codes. The only sporting codes they access to is soccer. It means the only sport is football. The rest is meant for other people who've got different color engafani nami.
Sekuseduze ukuthi ilungiseke.
Asekuseduze kakhulu. Sekufike mina ke manje.
Okay.
Elokugcina.
Okay. No. Yona benifuna uhlala kuyo lena because kukho la ekhaya. La ekhaya bathathe leya company bayisa ku competition commission.
Yes.
Kodwa ke ngiyajabula kwa minister ukhona kule
ngiphezukwayo. Aha. Ngiphezukwayo. That's why even on Saturday masihlangana lapha eSugar Ray ukuthi abantu baphume base Clermont ngobuningi sizolalela sisupport iCAF sisupport uPresident Mutsipe. This initiative ilethwe eThekwini, it must bring more tournaments to eThekwini so that sport tourism must bring more opportunities and jobs kubantu base eThekwini. Mangibona abantu bebesebenza lapha stadium over the past 2 days, it's an opportunity that they would never had. They are working in a tournament brought by CAF, and UCAF, I can tell you, the leadership is impressed by the hospitality as a Tekwin. This is what we need in this country. We must host more international events so that can bring more opportunities for jobs, revenue and other things.
Mphathiswa sesengasemaphethelweni nje nelakho lokuvala siya kwi-CAF Women's World Cup ibhola labesimame likhulile eNingizimu Afrika. Kodwa uproducer ngikhumbuza ngenye indaba ekuyaxoxwa la. Sine ibhola labesimame eNingizimu Afrika liyakhula njalo lixhaswa uHollywood Bets njalo. Kunengqinamba esike zavela la ngenkinga ekhona zokuthuthukisa kwebhola, kodwa azinakwa lezo ngqinamba zengane ehlukumezekayo uthola ukuthi zihamba ama distance amade, azinazi insiza, ezinye zazo azinawo ngisho ama sanitary towels. Ngengezwa imbumba foundation ikhuluma ukuthi izosebenzisana nenkampani ezithizeni engage uhulumeni uma kufika icele efana nalezo niyosabela.
School sport must address all of that, because umuntu who goes to school walking 20 kilometers to school, and we expect not only in terms of learning and concentration, ukuthi lo muntu lo sport can play a role. Yazi enye into wena Bravik ithi ngikutshele bengitshelwa ngumama uNG uthi there is a correlation between sport and education, because laba abaparticipatayo in sport esikolweni the possibility ukuthi baphase ngama distinction is 100%. So there's a relationship between education and sport. Therefore, we must address lezinto that can help them to perform better, both in education and in sport.
Bathangalishilo litaba ngaphandle omnyando udaba lemarumo gallants ebanjiwe le namanje abakadedelwa sike seza ukuthi departments international relations iyalisebenza lolo daba uminister bamikuphi njengamanje nodaba olithinta emarumo gallants.
Siqhumene nabo mangibuya egoli nje muyazi bengisegoli emini ukuthi bayas update every time because it's deco that abakhuluma ne-embassy that side. It's quite a complex matter, but we think that we hope there are lessons to be learned both at a club level, and I think we will continue to make sure that such things never happen again.
Asivale manje minister kusasa nangomgqibelo uthina umyalezo obhekisa kubantu baseNingizimu Afrika ukugoqa le ndomezulu yes CAF Schools Tournament.
Asiphume sonke siye eSugar Iqulu Stadium ngoba uningi bethu so supporta khona ama finals. Mangizwa ukuthi nje i-team yase South Africa ingathi sekhona esadlalayo kodwa siyafisa ukuthi ekugcineni kuma finals sibe naso isikole esidlalayo. South Africa has 24,000 schools. Only 2 schools are participating here. Kubalulekile lokho ukuthi uma celebrate. We are here up until Saturday to celebrate that. So hlangane eClermont ngoba uningi bethu. Asiphumeni.
So hlangane emarenkeni eClermont
izinja zegame